both physically but also from a social and economic perspective, making sure that our community, Monterey Park, and the wider region continues to be one that's welcoming of immigrants, including Burmese-Americans, Burmese immigrants, and that people are able to find, and families are able to find opportunity here in Monterey Park and in the region, and making sure that that promise continues to live longer into the future. And so that's what's driven our agenda, my agenda, and my priorities at the city here in Monterey Park and in the region, making sure that basic infrastructure needs are met, but also making sure that we're engaging the community and community leaders and young people as well in creating that vision and casting a vision for what that future should be, one that's filled with high quality education, but also high quality facilities and infrastructure like parks, work spaces, open spaces for our community, a thriving small business community that helps contribute to the economic vitality of our region and our community, including Burmese restaurants and Burmese businesses, and what role asking and making sure that the city has a critical role to play in making sure these businesses and these promises are met for our community. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be so proud of my Burmese heritage, and happy to be here to help organize this event. Hope that this will be, I know this is the second, but I know that there will be many more to come, and please count me in as a partner and as a friend in the years to come as we continue to build community, a stronger community, a more vibrant community into the future. I know a few folks had some questions. I'm happy to take any questions that folks might have. If you have any, or if this is for a different part of the program, I'm happy to stick around. I'd love to stay here for a little while to hang out and just get to know each of you a little bit better as well. But thank you so much for inviting me, for having me, and for hosting this event. These kind of events are so critical and important to gather the community, to bring everyone together, to hope to highlight some of the challenges our community faces, but also the opportunities that our community has to uplift each other and to uplift our entire community, and to make sure that we're empowered to make decisions for ourselves and to shape our own future.
Following panelists, please come up on stage. Rebecca, Asia, Tiangong, Sandy, and Joyce, please come up. Our first panelist to speak will be Rebecca.
Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Liu, and I am a junior from Whitney High School. And today I will be discussing the topic of substance abuse. So in terms of substance abuse, I think there are three main terms to really know about. So first we have the actual term substance abuse, which refers to the excessive usage of psychoactive drugs, which can include things such as alcohol, pain medications, and illegal drugs such as cocaine and opiates. There is also the term of substance use disorder, which refers to the pattern of substance usage that causes problems or distress in life. Finally, there is substance dependence, which refers to when substance usage continues even when problems have come up in a person's life. So why is this all important to know? So first, we have the Red Ribbon Week, which some of you may be familiar with. This is a national celebration at the end of October in which more than 80 million people show the red ribbon in order to show their commitment to a drug-free lifestyle. Early on, even as early as elementary school, we are given education on drugs and the dangers of drug abuse, which is important to have this early education in order to help prevent youth from becoming addicted. Finally, and also in September of last year, I attended this conference titled Elevate Youth California, in which various youths made presentations. And in one of these, there was a topic of knockoff brands of children's foods, which use bright-colored and kid-friendly images, similar to how kid-friendly brands use. However, these actually hid the fact that these foods contain substances in it, which is very dangerous because children have very easily malleable brains, and these can cause long-term problems. So I would like to address the risk factors relating to substance use disorder. So first off is genetics. An individual's vulnerability to substances, about 40 to 60% of that comes from their genetics. Mental illnesses can also run in family history, and those with mental illnesses may turn to using substances as a way to cope or as a form of self-medication. The environment is also a factor. Things such as trauma and an adverse childhood experience can cause an individual to be more susceptible to using substances. The environment is one of the more modifiable factors, and early intervention can prevent problems from developing later on in life. Stress is also a factor. It is a known risk factor for mental disorders as well as relapse, and it can cause people to become more impulsive and decrease their behavioral control. Abnormalities in the brain areas. So areas that affect things such as reward, decision making, and emotions can cause people to indulge more in these kinds of substances. So with the topic of substance abuse, I think it's also important to address the factors of withdrawal and relapse. Withdrawal refers to the symptoms after someone reduces their intake of a drug, which can include things such as anxiety, fatigue, and depression. There's also substance relapse, which refers to the return of the usage of the drug after a period of sobriety. So what are some ways to prevent substance use disorders? Well, I guess there's the obvious. Avoiding drugs entirely completely removes the risk. There's also spreading awareness, such as what me and my panelists are doing today, in order to discourage involvement with the drugs. There's also seeking help for those who have mental illnesses, as well as being careful with who you associate yourself with, because things such as peer pressure, as well as, in general, those who you hang out with, may influence you. Keeping track of your goals, your aspirations, can also give you motivation and a sense of a life purpose, which can also help discourage people from taking drugs because those would only hinder them from reaching those goals. In terms of treatment, there's three main forms. So first would be detoxification, which basically refers to stopping the substance intake, whether gradual or immediate. There's also cognitive or behavioral therapy, which encourages healthier thinking and helps to regulate emotions better. Finally, medication, which can help change a person's brain chemistry and relieve cravings as well as withdrawal symptoms. So, with all this in mind, how does this tie back to the Burmese community? There may be some in the community who are currently dealing with substance abuse. There are some who may be directly affected by it, whether it's through someone you know or perhaps a death that may have been caused by substances. It's important to find support if you need it and help, and to also support those who are dealing with it or know people who are dealing with it. It is important to show compassion and to encourage others to avoid using substances. With all of these combined efforts, I think we can make a better future for us Burmese-Americans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for providing that. And the next speaker is going to ask one question or a couple questions, or I have a couple questions for the panel. Open mic, whoever wants to go ahead and answer this. I know a lot of you talked about the dangers of it and it being something where kids usually, or youth usually like to try it because it's something they're told not to do for curiosity purposes. What do you think about the current acceptance of doing that, or like the ease of finding help when you're kind of in that event? Do you think it's easy, or do you feel comfortable chatting with an adult if you hear someone or know someone that is dealing with something or dealing with substance abuse? Anyone's open to kind of ask, like, do you feel like it's right now, is there safe places in place right now for you to talk about if someone you know is dealing with that? Do you feel safe talking to an adult about that, is I guess the question.
I think there are like hotlines that you can contact to like in order to talk to someone, and I think you can also like do this like anonymously as well, which may be able to encourage others to like reach out more. There's also like trustworthy adults such as school counselors who may be able to direct students to like other resources which can help with whatever they're going through or with like other people who are dealing with it.
Yeah, so that's a great answer to that one there. So from my understanding, it sounds like there are resources available. You have to go right now.
Parents should have like a safe environment for their kids to feel comfortable to speak about like their experience with drug abuse, and like the kids should be comfortable speaking to the parents. They should provide like a safe environment, and they should make them feel welcome and like don't make it like a punishing thing.
What you think? Of course. Yeah, so that's great point there. So for the parents and the next generation, it sounds like this is a very serious issue. It's an issue that a lot of parents fear for their kids to have, and a lot of times the youth feel not as an open line of communication or a safe spot to talk about it with their parents. So just a food for thought for the individuals going through that. It's acceptance. If you fall, it's okay. But make sure that the parents and also are providing a safe space where there's no judgment, and the main solution is just to kind of help individuals get out of that kind of a spiraling, rabbit hole, so to speak. So I just want to thank all of our panelists one more time for talking about a very serious issue there. So thank you, everyone. The next topic will be
In some of those events at Marquette Hall, which is in Alhambra, but serves Monterey Park, and in other areas, other sites around here. We'd love to work with the community to plan more of those cultural events to celebrate in Monterey Park and in the San Gabriel Valley. And we'd welcome the youth to help with putting some of those events on. And if there's desire to do that, I would love to partner and see how the city can support a lot of those efforts. I mean, we already do, right? The City of Monterey Park hosts with other partners, Lunar New Year Festival, Cinco de Mayo, and a whole Cherry Blossom Festival, and a lot of other cultural celebrations. It would be great to integrate some Burmese cultural traditions too.
Okay, so my question is, I know that you have a lot of like different identities, and you come from, I believe, two different, like a biracial background, I believe.
My parents are ethnically Chinese. My mom grew up in Taiwan, and my dad grew up in Burma, in Myanmar, and then Taiwan.
Okay, I see. So with all of that culture and background that you have, what is your how do you balance all of that culture, and have you seen any challenges that you have faced, and how have you overcome those different cultural challenges?
In terms of that, I enjoy both Taiwanese, Chinese, and Burmese food, so all good, and happy that we're going to be eating. It sounds like there's going to be sushi as well today, so get to balance all the different cultural aspects of the different Asian cultures in the background. But it kind of helps. It's interesting, right? Coming from a Burmese Chinese background, which I think a few of us do, right? Some of the Lunar New Year and other cultural activities overlap, and there's already integration of some of those cultures. So that's kind of cool, and we, right, from a Burmese Chinese perspective, still celebrate Lunar New Year, and you do get your red envelopes, so you can tell your parents about that, and make sure they celebrate that too. But it's here in the San Gabriel Valley and in LA, Chinese culture is, in a way, is a little bit ahead of Burmese culture being integrated into a kind of wider celebration of cultures. And so growing up, we had a lot of Chinese cultural celebrations here, and it was a regular thing. It's the Burmese cultural celebrations that were, I remember my dad is here, I'll shout him out real quick from the back, take some pictures. But we would go to some of these celebrations. There'd be smaller scale, much more neighborhood community in some of the community centers, but not as much of a wider community-wide celebration. And how do we, to one of the first questions, how do we help spread understanding of Burmese culture and traditions to a wider audience beyond just the kind of insular Burmese community, just like other Chinese cultural kind of traditions that have spread to non-Chinese kind of folks in Los Angeles. We'd love to explore more of that, how we do that.
Do you have any ideas for any like early intervention policies or just like programs in general to help like educate and potentially prevent substance abuse?
I think programs like this that involve youth and help to get youth to understand the pitfalls of substance abuse and even mental health, and being able to talk about these things is something that is a very helpful first step and a very powerful first step. So making sure we have more of these kind of forums to be able to do that. I think it was kind of mentioned in some of the other speeches and answers to the questions. There's difficulty in terms of communicating between immigrant generation and kind of second, third generation of immigrants, not just in the Burmese community, but in a lot of cultural communities where that communication is difficult, and that integration in the culture, of the existing culture here, American culture, is a difficult thing. And so how do we build better trust between first generation and other generations, and better communication, so that when challenges like this do come up, we actually have safe spaces to have these conversations. But also just bringing community together. Often, it was mentioned, I think one of the other responses, in terms of having community and being able to have positive influences in our immediate community, in our friend network, in our social network, not the social media network, but real physical friendships and real people talking to each other and building these kind of networks that support each other. Helping to promote more of that and support more of that through functions like this, bringing people together in real life to talk about things, learn from each other, and to build real relationships and figure out how we can support each other are very helpful early. I wouldn't even call them interventions. This is a lot of prevention for getting into trouble in these other ways. You tend to fall into those other challenges when you don't have those social supports, both from your family, from your friend network, and other kind of aspects of your life where the community isn't strong and supporting each other.
Thank you.
So I haven't talked about it yet because it's near towards the end of the event for my speech, the importance of education. If you did choose the pathway of a higher education, what do you think its values are, and what do you think that how did that benefit you in your career pathways more so?
Yeah, no, higher education in general is extraordinarily important. And there are different forms that education can come in, there is technical and other skills-based education that can lead to very successful careers that we need to encourage more of. I went to get a 4-year degree and a master's degree, so that traditional path is definitely still one that I think is important for many to pursue. And the education, whether you're going through skills training or anything else, or a 4-year degree or whatever for higher ed, it's important to be able to have those, to learn those specific skills that are being taught in schools. But even more important, I think, now that I've been working for 15 years after school, is learning how to learn, and to be open to learning, and to these environments of being exposed to ideas that you may not have been exposed to before, being able to dig deeper into those. For me, higher education was eye-opening and helpful, extraordinarily helpful in helping to form my own kind of perceptions on things and my perspectives in learning about how the world works and how our community works, how people work, how our institutions work. And those are a lot of those things you don't learn in a textbook by reading something and exploring the history that's written down, but actually going through the practice of some of those things, having these experiences that go along with learning in the book, but internships and jobs, being able to do that alongside your actual book education, part of higher ed and education in general, is very, very critical to get those experiences in a university or college setting where you can marry both practical experience and the theoretical experience. And that's super helpful. And you can get those, those are things that in many ways you can only get on a college campus, where you have all of those things kind of coming together, and the opportunity to be able to pursue that in a way, very direct hopefully that was not too.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.